Hello there. Just wanted to talk to you today about drone pilots and why you shouldn't disturb a drone pilot while he's flying, as it might get you into trouble. I'll give you a little bit of my background. Many years ago I was a helicopter pilot, not a full-size one, but a small miniature radio controlled model helicopter. I used to fly aeroplanes as well, gliders, and I even had one of those tiny little things, flying wing. But anyway, so when I was flying my helicopters, I got to the point of I got my A certificate, which was the first one they issue, and I got my B certificate, which is the second one that they issue, and I also became instructor and then went on to become examiner for radio controlled helicopters. So that's my basic bit of background on model aircraft flying. So yeah, I know a fair bit about so I was looking at the lens. I know a fair bit about radio control models, and well, I've seen quite a few YouTube videos where the drone pilot is being interrupted by people asking what he's doing. You can't fly over here, you can't do this, you can't do that, and of course this is endangering the aircraft. I've even seen one video, this is Reggie Photo, where he was watching the footage that he'd taken, I don't know, half an hour before, and the police came and said that he was flying a drone and grabbed the controller off him. Now, if he had been flying the drone and he grabbed the controller off him, then the drone could have crash landed and maybe injured someone, or imagine that it had crashed onto a main road and the car had swerved and hit another car. You're talking several £1000s worth of damage, and the person who grabbed that radio control, if he had been flying, would have been prosecuted for that, even though it was the police that grabbed it. Reggie Photo wasn't flying a drone at the time. His drone was packed in his bag. So how the police could possibly think he was flying, I don't know. Anyway, I digress a bit. So I've got some notes, so I'll get my notes out of my pocket and I'll carry on. Right, I'm back. So here we go. So as part of my radio control helicopter license anyway, apart my examiner certificate meant I had to read through the British Model Flying Association handbook, and I knew it pretty well at the time. One of the few things that stuck in my mind was the fact that radio controlled models are covered by the CAA, and a lot of the regulations that apply to model aircraft also apply to full-size aircraft, or vice versa. Everything that applies to a full-size aircraft also applies to a model aircraft. And as you all know, the CAA control the airspace, not a business. You can't own the airspace above your property. Unfortunately for you, anyone can fly over your airspace. There are regulations that involve flying a drone outside someone's bedroom window just to look in the window, but if you were to fly a drone over the building and you just happen to see someone in the bedroom as you flew over, that's perfectly allowable. It's the stalking aspect of filming outside someone's bedroom that's a bit weird. But anyway, it's not something I would do. Anyway, I've digressed again. Yeah, fancy that. Fancy me digressing. Anyway, so Air Navigation Order 240 states that a person must not recklessly or negligently act in a manner likely to endanger an aircraft or any person in an aircraft. So does that make sense? You cannot endanger an aircraft or someone in an aircraft. The regulations also state, this is number 23 of the regulations, it says that let me get it right. The regulations 23 does not exempt small unmanned aircraft from the provisions of Article 240, which therefore does apply to drone operators. Someone who recklessly or negligently distracts a drone operator in a way that subsequently endangers people or property is guilty of an offence. Civil liability is of course a separate matter. Anyone's whose action in... Sorry, I'll read that bit again. Civil action... Start again. Civil liability is of course a separate matter, but anyone whose actions results in damage to anyone else's property or to any person can be required to repay the damages or pay compensation. So that's it then. Drone pilots, if anyone comes up to you and starts to distract you, simply quote Air Navigation Order 240, which prevents people from interrupting the pilot of an unmanned vehicle. Now, it's the same. This is the same thing as if you try to break into the pilot's cockpit on an aircraft. The same laws apply. You cannot disturb a pilot of an aircraft in flight, whether it be a teeny tiny drone or whether it's an Airbus A380. You just can't do it. So that's it. That's the laws. And as you all know, I've just recently got my drone flyer ID and my operator ID. So that's I've also got my insurance as well. While I was here, I went back to the British Models Association and got my insurance. You don't need a flyer ID for a sub 250 drone, but you do need an operator ID. If your drone has a camera attached to it, then you need an operator ID. Anything other, a small sub 250 drone without a camera, you don't require a flyer ID. You can just go out and fly it wherever you like, really. The drone flying laws don't apply to the small drones without cameras because they're considered toys, and as such you're allowed to use them in parks and places like this. But you must bear in mind that there are bylaws that might prohibit you flying your drone in a busy park. But yeah, it's always best to be overqualified than to be underqualified and become prosecuted. It's also a good idea for the insurance. I pay £40 a year for my drone insurance, even though I haven't got the drone just yet. Give it a couple more weeks, and hopefully I have a drone. I've got one lined up. Hopefully by the time I get home it'll still be available. It's quite cheap. But anyway, we'll see. Yeah, anyway, so that's about it then. That's the law, 240. Air Navigation Order 240. Don't interrupt a drone pilot. Anyway, I've rambled on again. Okay, see you later. Bye then.